In this week's edition of Catching Up to Horror Films That I Missed that came out not too long ago, let's talk about Bring Her Back. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now, I was actually quite looking forward to seeing this film. If you're not familiar, it's made by the same guys who made the film Talk to Me, which was a film made in Australia, which I really liked. It seemed to be very fresh, very original. That is something, a theme you could say that pops up in horror in the last few years, which I really, really like. We need new filmmakers, and the horror genre, for some reason, it really lends itself to creativity and innovation. Quite often driven by the fact that these filmmakers don't have a lot of money or not huge budgets, you know. Not always, they do sometimes, you know, and then they go and mess it up. No, but it is one way to make people really, really creative. And yes, I really enjoyed that film, Talk to Me. I think I did a review for it, I'm pretty sure. If I did, you'll see a link to it at the end of this video. So Bring Her Back came out last year. It was a new film, so like I say, I was very curious to see it. Off the bat, in case you're interested, I preferred Talk to Me. This film is less of a horror film. It's definitely got a lot of horror vibes to it. It felt less like a horror film to me. It's definitely very disturbing, I will give it that, but not in a typical horror sense where you're thinking about maybe, I don't know, things that really make you scared and, you know, scream and stuff like that. Yes, so as I said, made by the same two people, Danny and Michael Philippou. I don't know how they are related. I'm assuming they're brothers because it's usually always siblings, isn't it? When it's these kind of director-writer duos, they're usually always siblings. I'll just assume that they are here as well. I mean, it doesn't matter. Anyway, yes, still very interesting filmmaker, so I will say that. I still think it's a very interesting film, so I will definitely be continuing to watch, you know, their progress, development, evolution, whatever you want to call it. What is the film about, right? Bring Her Back. The title seems very weird. You know, even while the first half of the film was going on, I still didn't quite understand the title. I'm like, but I think that's the point. I think you're only supposed to realize a bit later on, like, oh, that's what this is about, right? It's like, anyway, it's not important. We are focused on a pair of foster kids. So two kids in Australia, they're in the foster system. They are played by Billy Barrett. His name in the film is Andy. And then you have his foster sister called Piper. She is played by Sora, wrong. Sorry, I just had to check my notes if it said Wong or wrong. It says wrong. I hope that's right and not wrong. Anyway, Sora Wrong, if I'm not mistaken. These two have got the unfortunate situation that their foster parent dies all of a sudden, and they need a new place to stay. Yeah, they stay with a former counsellor. Her name is Laura. She is played by Sally Hawkins. And that is what the story is about. It's how they sort of deal with their new surroundings, their new foster family. Laura also has another foster child called Oliver. He's a sort of young teenage boy, I'll call it. He is mute, seems a bit disturbed, a bit unusual. We're not quite sure what's going on with him from the start. And yes, so we watch these two kids trying to fit in with their new family, trying to deal with not just the death of their previous foster parents, but yes, trying to, you know, see what Laura is about and how they can, yeah, maybe become a family again. Yes. That is the main gist of it. As you can imagine, like I say, it is a horror film in that sense, or it's generally a film, so obviously you need more plot development than that. I'm obviously not going to tell you because I don't want to spoil it too much, but I mean, just as you can probably imagine, things don't go as they are. There's something sinister going on here. I won't tell you exactly what because that would be spoiling it, but just, you know, the stuff definitely happens. There's definitely stuff that happens here, right? That's as much as I'll tell you concrete about the plot, right? As far as story elements go, because always with horror films, I do like to make at least a small comment on what kind it is to give people who are a bit, you know, maybe queasy about gory stuff or just don't want to see certain things in their media. I'll just say that as well. This film, it deals quite a lot about, I would say sort of, it's like domestic and child abuse topics. I will sort of summarize it as that. So it's very difficult to watch in that sense, right? Because it's all just about, it's very disturbing. All these things that go on are very disturbing. It's like, At least that was the case for me. I was picturing myself in this situation, and I just felt horrified at having to go through it. So it's one of these films where I really felt for the characters. So I mean, in particular here, Andy and Piper, but more Andy, because he gets more of this sort of really messed up stuff where you're like, oh, this is so frustrating to watch, because we as the audience, we get the full picture, we see everything, and yeah, so it really makes you feel for him. Yeah, so it's got certain elements of something that really surprised me. The reason it doesn't quite work for me is because it feels like a bit of a jumble. We've got this family story, these two kids trying to fit in, and then we've got this other aspect that comes into the story that feels like it's kind of added in there to make it not just a horror film, but just to really turn it into something else as well. So I think I would have probably enjoyed this film. I mean, enjoy it is a difficult, really weird wording for a film that's got a lot of sort of domestic and child abuse sort of things happening in it. But I think I would have felt it a more complete piece or so if we had just focused on the family story. Because we've got one element in here, particularly a lot of the horror stuff comes from this element, I'll call it as well, that to me was not necessary for the story itself. So I felt like that could have been left out, right? But other than that, I will say it was very interesting to watch. I still like these two filmmakers. The film's still interesting. There's a lot going on here. Especially, and I really do need to mention this, the actors. I think that did an absolutely phenomenal job. I really like Sally Hawkins and all the things she does. The way she behaves here is very, very unusual. I'll tell you that much about the plot, because she is, as a foster parent, of course, trying to give these kids a warm welcome, trying to make them deal with the situation of the former foster parent just dying. At the same time, she does a lot of strange things where you're like, why are you doing this? Is this appropriate? It's a lot of things where you're like, this is troublesome, And she goes through all sorts of stages and behaviours and emotions throughout this film, and does it expertly. I mean, she is a great actress. It's just going to be, I'll put it this way, if you watch this film, it's really going to be difficult to see her in Paddington and go, just a loving family mother. I'll put it this way. No, really great acting on display, but also the other two, the kids I mentioned. So Billy Barrett as Andy, he is especially. I mean, they're both quite young. These two people in real life. The stuff they get to do in this film is really quite amazing. I'll single out Piper's actress, Sora Wrong, especially because I read this after the fact that this was actually her first acting performance, apart from maybe a stage play or so in school, but it's really quite phenomenal, because one of the things you should be aware of, when you're watching this film and just trying to gauge this, because this is a question that you always ask yourself when you have this, because Piper's character, she has a seeing disability. It's not visible, but she has a visual impairment, and when these things happen in film, one of the first questions is always, is this real or not? And she in real life does actually have visual impairments, and it's just really, to me, it's really impressive just watching all these things happen on screen, because when you think about it, a lot of things that we associate with acting and what actors do is from us watching them, obviously the voice as well, but a lot of it is watching. So trying to reproduce acting, I mean, in this case, she's not reproducing it, but you know what I mean, she's acting, right, without ever actually having seen acting, and visual is, of course, a lot of the things that has to do with acting, a lot of the visual stuff. And she does a great job. I would never have guessed that this was a real, first full acting gig, as it were. She does a phenomenal job. It's really interesting, right? And it's not just that. I always mention this as well. I always find it interesting in films when I learn more about disabilities, because I like to think of myself as an empathetic person. So it helps me to see others' life experiences and situations they have, and just how they deal with it makes me think about more, if I have people like that in my life, how can I assist them, just better understand their position. I also learned that there's a sport called goalball, which I have never heard about before. If you don't know, it is a sport with balls and goals. That's goalball, duh. that is for people with visual impairments. I was like, oh, cool. I always like learning about new things, so that was really fascinating. It actually looked very fun. Never seen it before. So yes. So the actors, all of them, really incredible stuff. They really make this film worthwhile. This film could have easily been silly, cheesy, I don't know, just really bad if it weren't for the acting. The acting really elevates it because you have got some real drama at the core here. Some really serious stuff going on would not work without the actors. So like I said, the plot to me is a bit sort of hit and miss. I wish we had left the sort of the more horror-y aspects away from the story, just focused on the family and all this stuff, because I feel that is strong enough on its own and just could have maybe just been, you know, turned into the only story that's going on here, just to maybe, you know, widened out a bit, just prolonged a bit so that we can just sort of, I don't know, get rid of the horror stuff. But that's my opinion. It's definitely worthwhile watching. If you see it pop up somewhere, I would say definitely check it out. I'm gonna, like I say, have these guys on my radar, see what they do next. 2 films, both very interesting. Sign me up. You know, I'm always out for on the lookout for these kind of things. That'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about anything you want to say about Bring Her Back. I'll also, like I said, leave a link to my review video of Talk to Me. You can check that out. If you enjoyed this film and how it was made, etc., how it looks, I feel that you would enjoy Talk to Me as well because the same guys made it. Anything you want to say, put it down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care, bye.